be one of your main building blocks to create your episode. Now, what's good to know is that there are different types of blocks available in Cuez. So whenever you first register on Cuez and create your very first project and episode, we will give you a couple of default blocks that you can immediately start with. But what I will show you in a moment is that you can also manage these blocks. So this is where Cuez gives you a lot of power to customize it to your specific needs. You will be able to either edit the existing blocks to your needs, or even start from scratch and create your own custom blocks the way you want, with all of the fields that you want to have in that specific block. But first of all, it's important to know that we have two main types of blocks. And for that, I'll click on the plus button on the script side, because here, underneath our part and item, our block section starts. And first of all, we see a couple of blocks that have the letter T in front of them, and we also see some blocks that have the word Q in front of them. These are our two main types of blocks. They are text blocks and Q blocks. Very simply put, a text block is what you will use mostly on your script side to add some sort of text, whether those are, for example, stage instructions, text that needs to go to a prompter, something for your presenters, any type of script text that you need to add to your episode, that will be done with text blocks, for example. A Q block often has more of a technical aspect to it. So that is a clip, a graphic, a piece of audio, a strap or a lower third, something that you might want to send to, for example, a vMix, an EVS, OBS, things like that. So those are your main different types of blocks. And what's good to know is that on your script side, you will see both text blocks and Q blocks, while in the rundown, you will only see your Q blocks. So if you are looking at your rundown and you are in a light panic because you don't see your text blocks, don't worry, this is normal. Just open your script on the side and you can keep track of all of your text as well. Now, as mentioned, we give you some of these block templates already to start with. But from there, you can customize them to be however you need them to be. So you can either, from this drop-down menu, behind the plus, you can go to Manage Block Templates, or again, our action menu at the very top of our episode, we also have our Manage Block Templates menu. If we open this one, again, we see our text blocks and our Q blocks. So for those of you that already registered and you have had a look at this, you will see that the ones I have here in front of me, there are already a couple of custom blocks here that I have created. If I'm correct, I think all of you start with prompter and presenter tablet as text blocks. And in regards to Q blocks, it is clip, graphic, audio, and straps, if I'm correct. But from there, you can take any block, click on, again, the three dots to open an action menu. And from here, you can either edit a block template, duplicate it to then modify it for a different type of block template, or archive it if you say that you don't need it anymore. If you archive them, they go here at the top underneath that second tab. If we want to edit, we simply go to Edit Block Template, and then you have a couple of options. First of all, we can click the name of our block. So in this case, it's my prompter block. When I click it, I can give it a different name. I can choose whether or not I want to see the badge in the script. So the badge is, here in the background, you see EVS, grams, strap, and so on. That's the badge. So you can choose to hide it if you want. And you can change the color of your blocks. So you have a bunch of colors to choose from. So you can really, visually, that will help you distinguish between what is prompter text, what is instructions, what are clips, and so on. So those are your first options for the customization. And then for a text block, you have your text field. You can customize your text field. You can say, I always want this text from my prompter to be in bold or italics. Maybe it always needs to be uppercase. Maybe you want to give it a color. All of these things you can customize by editing this field. You also see a very important checkbox here below, which is to choose whether or not you want to include, in this case, the text of my prompter field in timings. Later on in the webinar, when I explain timings, we will come back to this because Cuez can help you a lot in regards to timings. So this is for a text block. A Q block is more advanced. So when we go to edit a Q block, you see that you can have different types of fields. And so first of all, a Q block, like the clip that you will start with, it will have a title, so you can always clearly see what this one is about. You can also have a media field, so you can upload your videos, images, audio files, things like that. You can have what we call label fields, and you can add more text fields as well. How you do that is with the button here in the top right, you click Add Field, and then you see the 4 different types of fields that we have available for you. Plain text will be a single line of text that is unformatted, so perfect for something like a title or anything that just fits in a single line. You could have a text area, so if there is something that you need a bit more space for, maybe you want to add out words or last words or something to a video clip, or maybe voiceover text, this can be done via a text area, for example. Labels, I'll show you in a moment what we did with sound. Label is kind of like a drop-down menu that you can add into a block, so you can easily select a specific option. And so maybe for a graphic, if you want to select whether it's going to be a landscape or portrait, or maybe for a video clip from which source that will come from, things like that you can easily do with labels. And then of course the media itself, where you can upload your actual media. So if we have a look at our media field, here I see it's of the type video, and again I have chosen to include it in my timings. If I look at my sound, which is a label field, I see here that I can make it a multi-select so that I don't have to choose one or the other, but I can have multiple selections active at the same time. And you will also see that for most fields, you have an option to show them in a separate row. So by default, this is usually deselected, meaning that depending on how wide you make your rundown or script layout, the fields will go next to each other so you can make it as compact as possible. But if there is specific information that you want to have on a separate row to add to the visibility of that field, then you can check this box to make sure that goes on its own separate row as well. Then as for the labels, I have a couple options here already, and we can also add extra options. So you see here option 1, click my action menu, I can give it a new name, give it a color, or delete it if I don't need that option anymore. So this is how you can customize blocks. So again, this can be done either with the existing blocks so you can fine-tune them to your needs, or you can just create a block template from scratch, give it a name, give it a color, and of course select whether that is going to be a text block or a Q block. So that is one of the steps that you can use to customize the project to your specific needs.